Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Rampage review. No SmackDown review in this video. It's just going to be an AEW Rampage review because I tuned in during the last hour of SmackDown because I was at work when the show began. And it was from Madison Square Garden tonight's SmackDown. Tuned in and saw Edge versus Seth Rollins once again, which was a pretty good match. And heard Brock Lesnar ended up returning to face off against Roman Reigns, so we're going to get another Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar match. So we're going to be getting that match again after the last time that they had a match a couple of years back. And we had the Street Profits and the Usos go at it. But that was from what I saw that happened on SmackDown tonight. But AEW Rampage, this was a pretty good show tonight. Of course, 3 matches. We saw Andrade El Idolo versus PAC, which was originally supposed to be at All Out, but due to PAC having travel issues, with the COVID situation, because PAC lives in the UK. So we didn't get that match at All Out, but we got it tonight on Rampage. We had a trios match: Ruby Soho, Kris Statlander, the alien Kris Statlander, and Riho versus Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel in a trios match. And you already know why I'm shaking my head, because, Rebel is absolutely terrible in the ring. Wait till I talk about Rebel at one point in the match with Riho being in the ring. So talk about that in a few. And the main event, we had Brian Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster of The Acclaimed. So all in all, Rampage was a pretty good show tonight. But let's jump right into the review. So, Rampage opened up tonight with PAC versus Andrade El Idolo. And like I said, this match was originally supposed to take place at All Out, but due to PAC's travel issues from getting from the UK to here to the US because of the whole COVID travels, the match didn't take place at All Out, but we got it tonight on Rampage. And this was a very good match. This was a very entertaining match here. If this match was still at All Out, it would have made the pay-per-view even more memorable. Both PAC and Andrade, both of these guys gave it all they got here in this match. And it was very entertaining from the both of them. So Andrade ended up coming out along with Chavo Guerrero and his other assistant, Jose Garcia. So the match ended up starting off with both PAC and Andrade throwing some forearms. Andrade ended up going straight for a side headlock on PAC. PAC ended up breaking up the headlock, and he dropped Andrade down. Andrade got back up, and Andrade ended up hitting PAC with a basement drop kick. And he was trapped in the corner. Andrade ended up escaping with some back elbows. And PAC ended up taking PAC up and delivered a corkscrew moonsault onto Andrade, which looked awesome. So both men were on the outside. And so PAC and Andrade ended up tossing each other into the barricades. So both of them went back into the ring. PAC was looking to go for a pin, but Andrade ended up kicking out at 1. PAC then ended up taking a pump kick from Andrade, and Andrade ended up following up that pump kick with a DDT on the apron. And we had Andrade end up hooking PAC's leg after they made their way back into the ring. So Andrade ended up going for the cover, and PAC ended up kicking out. Andrade then climbed up to the middle turnbuckle. PAC ended up getting on top of the middle turnbuckle, and PAC ended up locking in Andrade, putting him in the Tree of Woe. And so Andrade then ended up hitting a double stomp onto PAC. And Andrade, when he hit the double stomp, it looked pretty scary, because when he hit the double stomp, it looked like, he dropped fast out to the floor. He might have hurt his tailbone. So it was a very scary drop when Andrade ended up hitting that double stomp onto PAC, and he went all the way down onto the floor, possibly breaking or injuring his tailbone. So we saw that. It was a pretty scary spot there. So then Rampage went to commercial. Then when Rampage came back, Andrade ended up positioning PAC for a elbow drop, which Andrade ended up hitting it on PAC. Andrade then ended up coming off the top rope, delivered a split-legged moonsault. PAC then ended up hitting a hurricanrana to Andrade on the outside. PAC ended up delivering a sunset flip, and he delivered a kick to Andrade, a nice, good kick to Andrade. So Andrade then got back up. He ended up hanging PAC in the Tree of Woe again, and he ended up missing a double stomp attempt. Andrade ended up missing the double stomp attempt, and PAC then followed up with a top rope moonsault, which was awesome. So then they went back into the ring. PAC ended up delivering a 450 splash onto Andrade, and he went for the cover. Andrade ended up getting his hand on the bottom rope to break up the count. So Andrade got back up, and he ended up delivering a Pele kick, which he then followed up by a German suplex to PAC. So PAC then ended up delivering a suplex of his own, which sent Andrade crashing towards the turnbuckles. So PAC then ended up rolling Andrade up in the crucifix. And then we saw Jose Garcia. Jose Garcia is Andrade's second assistant, and he was on the apron, and he had a taser in hand. He starts to fire off the taser, distracting PAC. And we had the Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Penta. They end up running down. They end up stopping Jose Garcia from trying to distract PAC even more. So Chavo Guerrero ended up coming into the ring, and the referee was distracted. Chavo Guerrero ended up coming in. He ended up hitting an iPad to PAC, which helped Andrade get the win. So Andrade got the cover, and there you go. Andrade ended up winning the match. Post-match, Andrade ended up turning on Chavo Guerrero out of nowhere, which was crazy. So Chavo Guerrero was thrown back into the ring, and PAC was in there. PAC ended up locking in the brutalizer on Chavo Guerrero, and we had referees end up coming out to let PAC end up breaking the brutalizer off of Chavo Guerrero, but PAC wouldn't break the brutalizer because the Lucha Brothers ended up pushing the referees out of the way. So that was that. But overall, Andrade versus PAC was a good match, and it would have been awesome if we saw this at All Out. But instead, we got it on Rampage tonight. Like I said earlier, it would have made the pay-per-view even more memorable with this match, because both Andrade and PAC, they gave it all they got in the match, and it was a good match. And the wrestling here from both men were awesome. And then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was standing in the ring. Darby Allin and Sting end up making their way out to respond to Tully Blanchard. And they had a message for Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears. Darby Allin ended up telling Shawn Spears that if he's listening, that he wouldn't be anything if it weren't for Tully Blanchard. So Sting ended up talking about the many coattails that Tully Blanchard has written in his career. So then Tully Blanchard ended up coming out. He stood at the top of the ramp, and he was calling out Darby Allin and Sting. So Shawn Spears ended up sneaking into the ring. Shawn Spears ended up laying out Darby Allin on the outside of the ring as Tully Blanchard was talking. And so that was basically that. So overall, it was a decent segment here with Darby Allin and Sting responding to Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears. So looks like we're going to be seeing a tag team match there. Darby Allin and Sting versus Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears. So that's going to end up happening. And then we had Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole. They did interviews. Both Bryan and Cole explained why they decided to join AEW. Adam Cole, we all know why he joined AEW. His WWE contract ended early, and if he would have resigned, he would have been brought up to the main roster on Monday Night Raw, and he would have been a manager. He would have been a manager to Keith Lee. Does Keith Lee really need a manager in Adam Cole? Yeah, just waste talent away with Adam Cole. Adam Cole is one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And if he would have re-signed with WWE and be brought up to the main roster, that's what we would have saw Adam Cole. Being a manager to Keith Lee. Unbelievable. That is what Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard would have done with Adam Cole. Oh, I was thinking they would go the illegitimate son way, with Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan. With Adam Cole coming up to the main roster, they would have possibly done, Michael Cole would have been Adam Cole's illegitimate son. That is how I would have saw it, but no, they had other original plans. If Adam Cole re-signed with WWE, he would have been a manager to Keith Lee. It would have been a waste of Adam Cole's talent. And also another thing, Adam Cole would have had to shut down his Twitch account. Many superstars on the main roster had to lose their Twitch accounts. Randy Orton had to lose it. Styles had to lose it. Mia Yim had to lose it. But yet, we have Xavier Woods with Up, Up, Down, Down. He still has his gaming account, and he's on the main roster, but it's on the WWE. So, there you go. But thankfully, Adam Cole is in AEW, and he's back with his buddies, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, with the Elite. So good on Adam Cole. And Bryan Danielson, he wanted to go to AEW because he's done everything in WWE. What was there else for Bryan to do there? So he managed to go to AEW and hopefully fight some new talent. So, like I said, there was nothing else for Bryan to do in WWE. So, Adam Cole ended up saying that he's here for the Elite and to take out men like Bryan Danielson. So Cole ended up warning Bryan and his pals that he isn't even in his prime yet. So we heard from Bryan. Bryan Danielson ended up saying that he only has one target from the Elite in mind. And that target is the AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. Bryan ended up saying that he would love to sink his teeth into having his first match in AEW against Kenny Omega. Man, that would be an awesome match there. That would be a very good match there. Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, two of the best wrestlers on the planet. You got a money-making match there. And of course, Adam Cole will have his in-ring debut in AEW on Dynamite this Wednesday. which is he's going to be facing Frankie Kazarian. So that is going to be a good match there. And then we had a women's trios match. Ruby Soho, Riho, and the alien, Kris Statlander, versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. Man. We have to sit through another match with Rebel here. So, Britt Baker and Riho end up starting off the match. Britt Baker end up, doing a snapmare to Riho, and she made a cover on Riho. Riho ended up bridging out at the 2 count, which was awesome. Riho ended up tagging in Kris Statlander. Britt Baker was looking to go for the armbar on Kris Statlander. Statlander ended up countering the armbar, and Statlander ended up delivering a power slam to Britt Baker for a near fall. And then we had a Rebel in the ring. So Kris Statlander ended up delivering a drop kick to Rebel. Riho was in there, and Statlander ended up assisting Riho with some kicks on Rebel. And Rebel, when she sold the kicks, it was fucking terrible. Riho was delivering those kicks to Rebel, and Rebel was going. She looked fucking awful. So Rebel ended up making a tag to Jamie Hayter. Yeah, took a kicks going like that, and already she's tagging out. That shows how awful she is in the ring. So Jamie Hayter ended up coming in. Riho was in. Jamie Hayter ended up doing a German suplex to Riho. So we had Jamie Hayter as Rampage came back from the commercial. Jamie Hayter was working on Riho. Riho ended up crawling over to the corner, tagged in Ruby Soho. Soho ended up laying him some forearm strikes, ended up sweeping on Jamie Hayter, went for the cover, and we had Hayter end up kicking out at 2. Soho then tagged in Kris Statlander. Statlander ended up getting shoved towards the ropes from Hayter, and she received a backbreaker from Hayter. Jamie Hayter was looking to go for a cover, but Statlander ended up kicking out of it. Statlander ended up delivering a double suplex on Hayter and Rebel. So Rebel was now the legal woman in the ring. We had Statlander end up rolling Rebel up. Britt Baker ran in, ended up breaking up the cover. And Riho was up on Kris Statlander's shoulders. Riho ended up jumping off with a double stomp. And we had Riho end up taking a fight to the outside on Britt Baker. So Ruby Soho ended up making herself the legal woman in the match. She ended up pinning Rebel. There you go. Ruby Soho, Riho, and Kris Statlander end up winning the match. And once again, Rebel takes another loss for her team. Can we just please stop putting Rebel in the ring? Just keep her as a manager to Britt Baker, because I think she's a pretty good manager to Britt Baker. But when she's in the ring, she is awful. Terrible. Keep her out of the ring and just make her still a manager for Britt Baker. She does a good job, like I said, managing Britt Baker. But keep her out of the ring, please. She is as bad as Brandy Rhodes, as Cody's wife. So then we had Brian Pillman Jr. and Max Caster backstage, and Mark Henry was interviewing them. So we end up seeing that. And then we got the main event, Brian Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster of the Acclaimed. Max Caster, of course, came out there along with Anthony Bowens. So Brian Pillman Jr. ended up wasting no time. He ended up taking out Max Caster before the bell ended up sounding. Pillman was running roughshod before Max Caster ended up sneaking out of the ring. So Caster ended up making his way back to the ring. Pillman ended up trying to jump up on the apron, but Anthony Bowens got involved. He ended up taking it upon himself to drop Pillman face first onto the apron. So Pillman was back into the ring. Max Caster ended up going for the first pin, but Pillman ended up kicking out. Pillman's family was out there cheering him on at ringside. Linda and, of course, Brian Pillman's daughter out there, which you could tell Rampage was filmed before Dynamite on Wednesday. So Max Caster then ended up eating a boot from Pillman. Pillman knocked Anthony Bowens off the apron, and Pillman's turned around. He got caught by Caster in a suplex. So Caster then took control of the match, delivered a back elbow to Pillman and a drop kick. So he ended up going for 2 near falls, which Pillman kicked out of both of them. So Pillman ended up delivering a edge chop to Caster. Caster then ended up eating a short arm clothesline from Pillman in the corner. Pillman then climbed on top, started delivering some shots on Caster. Bowens ended up trying to knock Pillman off the top turnbuckle, but Pillman ended up taking him down. Pillman ended up taking Bowens out of the match so that he could focus on Max Caster. Caster ended up trying to come back, but Pillman ended up stopping him in his tracks and delivered a springboard clothesline, which of course is an honor to his father, the late great Brian Pillman. So Pillman then ended up hooking Max Caster's leg. He went for the cover, and there you go. Brian Pillman Jr. ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Caster and Bowens. They were just being down on Pillman. We had Bowens end up bringing in the boombox, but we had Jon Moxley end up coming down. Moxley ended up getting into the ring, and he ended up hitting Bowens with the boombox. So he ended up sending both Bowens and Caster out of the ring, saving Brian Pillman Jr. And that was how Rampage went off the air. Overall, this was a decent match between Brian Pillman Jr. and Max Caster. I think Brian Pillman Jr. is going to now face Anthony Bowens now in his next match, considering that Pillman is probably no longer finished with the Acclaimed. So Pillman is going to probably get his hands on Anthony Bowens. So that's going to come. But anyways, Rampage was a good show tonight. And that's it for the Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.